Former Vice President Mike Pence trying to rewrite history and pave the way toward his own presidential run, claiming the media coverage is meant to, quote, demean supporters of the former president. You may remember that some of those supporters who stormed the Capitol were chanting, "Hang Mike Pence." Mr. Pence, I don't know that he's forgotten that, because he had to be evacuated from the Senate chamber along with his family and taken to a secure location because his life was in danger. Instead, he went on Fox News, though, with a conspiracy theory and trying to do a makeover for his reputation.
I know the media wants to distract from the Biden administration's failed agenda by focusing on one day in January. They want to use that one day to try and demean the character and intentions of 74 million Americans who believed we could be strong again and prosperous again and supported our administration in 2016 and 2020.
He lies in such an earnest way, doesn't he? Steely-eyed lies. Pence's comments are just the latest in a dangerous whitewash campaign by Republicans who seem to be moving the party further and further from reality. Joining us now to talk about it, CNN senior political analyst David Gergen, CNN political commentator Amanda Carpenter. So, David, the Mike Pence is really sitting there with the phony face, blaming the media, calling the insurrection one day in January, while protesters chanted to hang him. It was interesting when Sean Hannity actually asked him about his what his relationship is like now with the former president. He got off that topic real quick and didn't actually have really any details to say because clearly there isn't much of a relationship.
Well, that's exactly right, Anderson. It has been reported that he has not spoken to Donald Trump by phone or in person since April. That's hardly a close relationship. Now, in fairness to Pence, his team argues that, yes, they're having to navigate with Trump on one hand, but what's really going on is they're gearing up to run for president. Whether or not Trump gets in, Pence intends to get in. And he's doing what a good candidate does right now. He's testing the waters, trying to straighten himself out with Trump. He's putting together a team, and he's also trying to raise tons of money, some $18 million. But that may be what they think they're doing, but every time you go and kiss the ring, I don't care who you are, what kind of intentions you have, you go kiss Donald Trump's ring, you come across looking like a lackey, a servile manservant. And that's what happened to Pence with this. He enlarged Trump and he diminished himself. And you can't get away from that. This is why it's going to be so hard for candidates who are running against the Democrats. What do you do about Trump? How do you deal with this? Because it always comes up with this kind of sense. If you kiss the ring, there you go. You're a person of weakness.
Yeah, Amanda, it's not even clear the former president will let him in his radius enough to actually kiss his ring. So I guess the closest is, licking Sean Hannity's ring. Is there anything? It is extraordinary. It's almost an insult to the Secret Service who risk their own lives to kind of rush him and his family out of the Senate chamber, for him to now kind of be pretending like, it wasn't any big deal.
Listen, what Mike Pence is trying to do here is distract from his role in January 6th. Right. His play to the potential 2024 Republican voter is, hey, if you were like many of the Republicans who voted for Trump because of his policies but didn't like his personality, how many times have you heard that? I'm your guy. I'm the guy that kept the ship steady in the Trump White House. You can count on me because, at the end of the day on January 6th, I did my duty and you should give me credit for that. But I think that is a joke, Anderson, because Mike Pence went along with every single bit of it until, the last minute that day. When Mike Pence pitches himself as a steady, reliable, constitutional conservative, I think he should be asked, why did you stay so quiet about your role in certifying the election until January 6th? Because his silence gave the insurrectionists hope. He gave them inspiration. They all were depending on the idea that maybe Mike Pence, if he wouldn't stop the certification, he would delay it or maybe send it back from the states. We know all this from the Eastman memo. Mike Pence entertained all of that until the very last minute. Had he come out, maybe like even Bill Barr did in December and said, you know what, there is no widespread fraud, I'm out of here, January 6th may not have happened. But Mike Pence went along with it, and that is why he wants to minimize and say it was just one one thing that happened one day. No. It was there many months in the making, and he was there for every bit of it.
Yeah, I mean, David, if that mob had been able to catch, Mike Pence or a member of his family, I don't think he'd be calling it just one day in January.
Just one day in January. Just one day, and just I'm entitled to a song, maybe. Listen, he came, according to good reports, he came within 60 seconds of being grabbed by the mob. And there were people in that mob who wanted to hang him. That is, if you look at that, how can he just talk about just one day as being, it's just like, it wasn't a big deal, we moved on. This is the first time that this capital has been assaulted like this since the War of 1812. You got to go back to 1812. Chris Cizilla pointed out today at CNN.com, just in the last days, we've had 600 people who've been charged with crimes across 40 states. We know that there are at least 100 policemen who were injured. We know 4 or 5 died. How much do you need to know that it wasn't just one day in January?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Mike Pence long ago, sold his whatever integrity he may have had at one point. David Gergen, Amanda Carpenter, appreciate it.